All right. Good morning, all. Welcome to ILL Users. Today is Wednesday, February 7th. It is bright and early, and we are ready to go with a pretty brief agenda, honestly. My name is Helen Pinder. I'm the Resource Sharing Consultant for SWAN, and I'm joined today by my co-chair,
Hi,
Meghan.
everybody. I'm Meghan Moran from the SWAN Library. I'm the Assistant Department Head of Customer Services.
Very good. Okay, and we've got a small group, so if you want to just say who you are, where you're from. You can just drop that in the chat, or if you do have access to a mic, you can go ahead and unmute. It's a small group. I don't think it's going to be a free-for-all.
I'm Stacia McSheese from the Hinsdale Public Library.
Welcome, Stacia.
Welcome.
We've got Marilyn from Addison.
Bloomingdale.
Welcome.
I'm Peggy from National University of Health Sciences in Lombard.
Welcome, Peggy. Reading in the chat, we've got Marilyn from Addison, Susan from Geneva, Kimberly from Shorewood, Troy. We've got a non-SWAN visitor. Welcome, Kimberly. Morgan from Messenger. Shelley, new to ILL from LaGrange. Welcome, Shelley. We're glad to have you. Carly from Franklin Park. Welcome.
I'm Vicky from SWAN.
Hi, Vicky. You snuck in here. I didn't see you come in.
I did. No, I did sneak in.
Okay, I think that's everybody. I wasn't counting. I probably should have been. That's my bad. The only thing I really wanted to talk about today was I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on what I've been working on in my little hole quietly by myself. I think everybody at this point knows that I've been populating your real-time availability for your auto no responses and world share so that things that are checked out, on order, in transit, and on hold, that those four statuses were replied in real time as no if a lending request should come in. What I started doing a week or two ago was I found 15 more statuses that I think we'll all agree are universally no reasons. Pull those up. You can see that my progress. I finished Summit yesterday. I'll get to the rest of you guys probably today, as long as nothing bursts into flames. So these are the other ones that I've been working on. Is your available soon, your claims return, your damaged shelf, your discard. I'm not going to read all those to you. You guys cannot read. I know that. But hopefully that'll cut down even more on those requests coming in for things that you just look in your OPAC and you can see that you're not going to send those out. So that's what I've been working on. And then if you would like to go above and beyond, you can use this report, which is hidden behind the blasted Zoom. There it is. Okay. You can use this report, and I will drop this in the chat. Of course, because I ran it a little bit earlier. It's in the count items. Count items by home location and current location. So I'm just going to drop the share from here. And I'm going to pick on you, Meghan, because you're here. I can. If you run this report that I'm dropping in the chat right now, you can see the statuses of your collection. And you can maybe take a quick look at where your things are. And if you're consistently getting requests for things that are in like an Ask Staff or a display location, there was one I found down here. Like if you don't circulate your careers material, I can add that to your specific real-time availability table, and then you won't see requests for those anymore. So if you have a couple of minutes, run that report on your own collection. Take a look and see if there are any sizable counts for things that you wouldn't want to send out and you're tired of getting requests for them. So like if your holiday collection doesn't circ, obviously your ILO doesn't circ, but like if your local history, if you would not send out your local history, we can add that to your real-time availability table and start replying no to those requests. And that gives you more granularity and power than just deflection policies, because this actually lets you use the OPAC locations to reply no. So that's the homework that I'm going to give you all today, is to please run that report, take a look at where your stuff is. I know at least two of you have already done that for me. I think Peggy from National, and I think Addison did that too. So everybody else, catch up. And I can get these additional locations into your tables and save you a bit of staff time.
That's great, Helen. I know that those have helped us a lot. Like even just the initial ones, having them suppressed have really helped our workflow a lot. So thank you for looking into additional ones as well.
Yeah, I'm really glad. Yeah, we took the lion's share off of everybody's plates with the, the checked out and the on hold and, in transit, the really big ones. And then going back and adding the additional 15, the missing, the lost, the claims returned. Just every little bit that we can chip away is going to be staff time saved, and it's going to be time and potentially frustration from the person waiting on the other end of that loan because it's not languishing in your request queue.
Right.
So that's all I really wanted to bring to the table today, is just letting you know what I'm up to and to encourage you all to take a look at your collection and where it tends to live. And I'm going to pass the mic to Megan.
Thank you. So in our department, we handle circulation and interlibrary loan. And lately we've had actually quite an uptick in requests. We have a couple of like power patrons that have recently either discovered or rediscovered out of system interlibrary loan for their kind of niche interests. And because of that, we are kind of having to cross-train more staff on processing things through our out of system interlibrary loan. So it just kind of prompted the question to me, I was wondering how many staff members in your libraries are processing interlibrary loan. That's kind of my first question. And also if there's any workflow adjustments that have been really helpful to you to reduce that staff processing time. So for me right now, in addition to me, we have 3 people that are fully trained on processing everything through OCLC, and then I'm training a 4th person right now. We are not paperless yet, which is something that I really need to put into action as soon as I can, I think, because I think that will help save time, definitely. Or using less paper than we do currently, maybe not totally digital, but reducing that. So those are some things that I'm kind of looking into, but does anybody else have experiences that they would be willing to share?
Peggy, you can go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, well, we're academic and I'm when it comes to interlibrary loan, and I've been doing this for 20 some years. What I have found, and so I don't know how this would really apply to you in like the public library, but I did use an Access database to log my requests, and I found it extremely helpful because when it comes time to do the traffic report, the annual traffic report, like you guys call it, IPLAR. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you can just sort and filter and get all your information pretty quickly. However, not everyone that I work with was comfortable with Access database. So, it's sort of interchangeable with an Excel spreadsheet. So I kind of use both. When it comes time to do the annual report, I kind of like can convert everything into Access now or vice versa. And that's one thing. But as far as being digital goes, I had wanted to do that for years. And once again, I don't know how this would work for you guys with strictly in SWAN, but because so much of what we've done is like OCLC, what would be considered like out of state for you, a lot of article requests, things like that. So, being digital, I get requests from two different OCLC as well as the National Library Medicine doc line. And I get those requests and I'm doing double work, I'll tell you that much, because I decided I definitely wanted to do this digitally. But again, we have to keep 3 years legally, we have to keep 3 years of our records. And so those would probably be paper files. So I print the paper and then I also save the PDFs as I get these requests and accumulate them in files on my like OneDrive or whatever monthly and log them that way. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to, try and work through something with you.
Thank you, Peggy. Thanks for-
Sure.
Marilyn in the chat says, right now I'm the only one processing the loans. I do not go out and place the request, just process. I will be training one other coworker soon. Has anybody else, and I guess this is also in line with my question, has anybody else seen an uptick in requests lately as well? And Stacia, if you were going to say something, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I do feel like we have had, it does seem like either power users coming back or rediscovering, like familiar faces, and it's like, oh, here we are again. We have 2 people that respond to requests for our materials, and then 2 that help me with requesting items for our patrons. And there is like kind of knowledge of both ends, but they focus on separate tasks, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Yep.
This is Mimi Johnson at Bloomingdale. We do not have a lot of requests right now. I'm not sure why. We have a lot more book groups coming in with increasing numbers of books requested. But I only do the requesting and Carrie Ann does the processing. So I do keep a paper trail just because she sometimes needs to come back over to me and find out where's this book? What happened? Why do we have it? Somehow something has gotten lost. So I do keep it. Right now it's easy to do. So
And I'm seeing in the chat, Kimberly says, I'm the main person who does everything from requesting to processing the loans. There are 2 who are trained but don't work with ILLs anymore, and I'm training another CERC employee to help. Right now, we are not paperless, and yes, new patrons and an uptick in their borrowing, requesting, and lending.
Mhm.
No uptick at Geneva recently. I'm the only ILL staff member day to day. Someone else is trained to handle ILL when I'm on vacation. Marilyn says not so many items for our patrons, but a large amount of out-of-state requests coming in.
Huh. Interesting.
As a matter of interest, are they for things that you would send out, just as a general rule? Or are they things that you're replying no to? Peggy, you can go ahead.
So once again, over the years, we've had a dramatic downturn in interlibrary loan requests, both, for physical books back and forth as well as article requests. And yeah, that's just like going away because so much research is available open access now. So,
That makes sense.
right.
Well, this might help. After I posted the agenda yesterday, I realized that I had this. Where am I? I have a 45-minute going paperless workshop on the SWAN website that I completely forgot that I did. I did rewatch it last night, and it is still very relevant, and I think will help you guys if you're going paperless. Kimberly, I know that won't help you because you can't get to the support site. So I'm wondering if I can share from here.
Okay.
Copy link. I think that'll work. I hope that works. But this training. It says it assumes a basic level of familiarity. So it assumes that you've watched these as well, but these are versions of these are also available from WorldShare's own training collection. So as long as you know the basics of WorldShare, borrowing, lending, how to fiddle with your policies and whatnot, the going paperless, you'll be able to take to that pretty easily.
Kimberly said the link did work.
Excellent.
And then Marilyn said, I watched that and it helped me a lot, cut down on some of the paperwork, definitely.
Yeah.
And then Shelley says 3 total are trained to process ILLs. I am the only one responsible daily. All reference librarians make requests. Not sure about uptick yet. Definitely not paperless, but thank you for the links.
You're very welcome. And I'll drop the link to this training. Again, Kimberly won't be able to get to this, but everybody else here will be.
I think for me with going paperless, we have staff that are currently doing this work that have been doing it, a specific way for a long time. And I think just like as somebody training and a manager, I know it's going to be definitely an adjustment for people. And that's part of my hesitation, it's not even that they're not capable. That's certainly not the case. It's just that I know it's going to be a big project to monitor. So that's my only concern at the
Change
moment.
is hard.
It is.
Was that Vicky?
Change is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really
exactly.
hard to overcome that institutional inertia sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's also like, we all have changes, I'm sure, going on in our respective libraries and departments and all of that too. So it's like, how much change do I want to put on a group at a time? I'm always kind of trying to balance that as well. So,
So Megan, where do you find you have the most paper hanging on?
I think it's just really integrated into our whole, like how we've done it. We hold on to paper for borrowing and for lending for a certain period of time. We don't do it, for forever. And we do have the 3-year rule about, holding on to all of our requests and things like that. But I think as long as they're digital copies and we can access them in WorldShare, which you should be able to and you can set the amount of time for how long the records are retained in WorldShare. I know I can't remember where that setting is, but I know I've run across it. So I think that we could remove the paper just because of that alone. to not, or to get past that like record retention need. And I think it would just be an adjustment overall to, you know, retrain staff on how to do that. And I think that would be okay. And we'd have to kind of integrate, you know, different things that we do now into somehow into the into world share. And I've been trying to train staff more on using like the notes, you know, in the requests in world share, like trying to use the notes area and documenting things, but that, you know, doesn't always happen. So again, just retraining people and making adjustments.
As part of that whole move, I have a question for the SWAN libraries. Do you all have your in-state and out-of-state OCLC patrons that you're checking items out to when you're sending them out, so that you can automate those OCLC counts for the traffic survey?
Yes, I do. And
And
it
if
does
you
definitely help.
Great. If you don't, let us know and we will make sure that you have both of them. I know there are still some libraries that don't have both or are not using both. They just check everything out to one of them. So we want to do everything we can to help you collect those statistics automatically with Blue Cloud Analytics, rather than having to keep those counts too.
And Helen found the patron settings for patron data retention.
Yeah.
too.
And this is just how long the patron data is. It probably shouldn't be this long.
Okay.
But that's because the record itself will persist a lot longer than the patron data. So basically the patron data will be stripped out of the request after the amount of time that you designate. But you'll still be able to access that closed request and see what library had it, and all of that. It's just the patron data is stripped out for, you know, privacy.
Julie is asking, is your 3-year rule a library policy? Oh, I know it's a library policy, but I think it's also part of a general like retention policy. Or I don't know which like oversight body has asked us to retain those particular records for that long. But I think it's part of, it's not arbitrary is what I'm trying to get at. It's part of something else. I can't remember what it is exactly.
Is it maybe the state's interlibrary loan code?
It could be. I feel like it's part of our general records retention though. Like broader than
Okay.
solely ILO.
Yeah, that 3 years is sticking in my mind, but I can't remember why.
I'll try and research it and maybe I can post it.
Yeah, throw that in the forums.
Yeah. Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I will. I will. I don't. I'm certainly not holding on to it, so I can have a look at it again if I don't have to, you know.
So I think it was late last year, November or so, that there was a webinar from the part of ALI, the ACRL, which is the academic, you know, and college research libraries, about updating the interlibrary loan code. And, you know, that would be like kind of federal. So there's a link. I'll try and get that and I'll put that in the forum. And I found it, and that's where it really clarified to me that it's the 3-year retention of your records. Because before it was always like, is it 5, is it 3? So it's definitely, you know, accordingly, it's 3 now. But I do have a question about OCLC specifically. I think you were alluding to the length of time that you can check on a closed request.
Mhm.
And it seemed to me that they used to be in there for years, but do you know what the specific amount of time is now in WorldShare? Or is that
Not
the
off the top of
question?
my head. I know it's been, I know it's years. It's
Okay.
like, it's a crazy amount of time where
Right.
somebody's asked me a question or something has come up and I've had usually it's in conjunction with migration. And I'm trying to clean up to see, did this thing really go back? And I have to go into somebody's OCLC and search to see if it was marked closed because we still have a temporary record floating around in our system. And I mean, I've found things that are like 5 and 6 years old. I mean, the
Uh-huh.
patron data is no longer there, but the record is still accessible in the closed, if you do a search of your closed requests.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's sort of ephemeral.
I don't know if there is a hard and fast, I mean, I'm sure there is. I'm sure that's a system setting somewhere. It's probably a global OCLC setting. Um, but I've never run into a situation where I knew there was a loan and I couldn't find it.
While we're kind of talking about this topic too, I know Julie had posted in the forums, a couple of questions and responses and things like that to what I had initially posted. So I'm just gonna read some of her info out to start with. She said we've been paperless a few years, which is awesome. Julie's made the transition. May have to pick her brain a little more. I love not having to keep paper files or worry about patrons losing paperwork, which I get that too, for sure. It is difficult, however, to get staff to believe that nothing terrible will happen if they toss paperwork that a stamp do not remove. But then when you think you have your staff convinced, you receive something like this, and she quotes from a library that sent something back to them. And that says, "Dear colleagues, thank you for returning 8 interlibrary loan items to UIU. It was noted none of the original interlibrary loan paperwork was retained in any of the items, and each item bore a large sticker across the cover. Going forward, please leave the original interlibrary loan paperwork fixed inside each item and refrain from adhering, I think that, adhering anything to the covers. Many UIU items are damaged when the stickers are removed despite the removable nature of the applied adhesive. Thank you for your consideration and attention to this matter." And then she says, "Now what do you tell your staff? Must keep paperwork for only one library, or are there more out there? We have paperless library listed in our policies, etc. as well." Yeah.
I would,
Go ahead. I'm
sorry, I would say if that's in your policy that you're paperless library, you're kind of absolved from that. If somebody wants their paperwork back and you've clearly indicated that you're a paperless library, I mean, they don't have to lend to you. If they want
Yeah.
their wad of stuff back,
Were those definitely OCLC holds or were they an ALA request that you received like through
I
email
think
or something?
I think it is an OCLC just based
Okay.
on the code of the library.
They're very afraid of change there. Once I saw that you could actually enter the barcode of your item into the request when it was sent, and when you receive an item, even enter at that point, enter their barcode, that was the biggest game changer for me. That was when I said, no, you don't need paper anymore. So you can even search by barcode at that point. You never know. There can be separate records for titles, depending on certain things. But when you've got that actual item barcode that you can enter, that was huge.
really said those were the sticky receipts. So that was the Epson Epson paper, the thermal paper. I'm assuming, Julie, because those come off so cleanly. Oh, Julie says, how do you enter their barcode, Vicky?
Well, I'll have two things here. First, view Helen's webinar. I think it's included in there, but
Yes, I
otherwise, yeah,
think it is.
we can definitely, if we have time today, we can show that, right?
Let's see if I can just. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this in SWAN. I should be doing this for somebody else that actually has a real request.
You can go into ours.
Okay. Live demos are exciting.
Is that going to show patron info? If we go into an actual request though?
I can pause the share
Okay.
and then scroll beyond it. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, how am I
Because
gonna
we
do
record
this?
these and then post them. We want to make
Yes.
sure we don't have any patron info.
So I am going to find a request that that Megan, that you've marked as received, that's currently in use. So I'm going to stop sharing now, just in case. Okay. Can you guys see me moving?
No.
Okay, cool.
Well, I see you moving, but nothing on your
Well,
screen.
okay. Peggy has another meeting. Bye, Peggy. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so okay, as long as I don't scroll down, I'll be in good shape. Okay.
Okay.
To resume share. Okay, so this is an item that was circulated to, wait a minute, do I have this the right way around?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wait.
you just,
Yeah, no, we lent it. It looks like, but that's
we lent it. Oh, but they could still populate, or you could
Mhm.
populate here before you send it out.
right.
But even on the other end, if they get this with an empty local ID field, they can put the library barcode.
And then you just click save and that'd be it.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that should be a 3 because it's a thing, not a person. So
Oh, wait, Julie's saying she didn't think that field was there for received items.
Mhm.
it should be.
I
Let
thought
me
it was.
go back in. Pause the share again. I'm not messing around. Okay. Okay, so things renewal approved. Okay, let me go to overdue. Yeah, and the patron information definitely shows up right there. So I'm glad I didn't do that.
Oh, Kimberly is saying that she doesn't have that field either.
And I'm not seeing it either. But what you could do to perhaps include it, but maybe not in that specific note area would be perhaps to put it into staff notes.
Mhm.
Um,
And
because
those are searchable, right?
that is
Yeah.
searchable.
Yes. So let me resume my share. I won't click anything.
I misspoke, guys. I apologize.
So you can put it here in the staff notes for your incoming stuff. Or I suppose if you really wanted to, you could send an email to the other library and ask them to put that barcode in the local ID, depending on how much time you really wanted to invest. But the notes are searchable, so you can definitely do it that way.
That's probably what I would use if I.
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
I
I would do
was
the same thing. I wouldn't want to bother anybody.
It does seem strange that it's not on that side then.
I feel like it used to be. Maybe it was mass hallucination. Maybe we all dreamed it.
We all had the same fever dream, Helen.
We all had the same upgrade request, enhancement request, I mean.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, it would make sense. I wonder why. There must be some reason why they don't do it there. I don't know what that would be, but because it's not logical to me that they wouldn't put it in both places, but there must be a reason.
That's odd. But yes, but any way you slice it, you can get, if they put their barcode into that local ID field, and as a best practice for you sending things out, now that we know that the borrower doesn't have access to that, you as the lender, make everybody's life easier if you put that item barcode in the local ID field. And I'm going to pause the share.
Susan says we put the barcode from incoming items in the staff notes and it works well. So that's how they've done the same practice that you were suggesting.
Resume share. Okay.
Julie also said in the forum, I believe going paperless has improved our workflow. What slows the workflow down is having to check policies for everyone there, especially when working on audio-visual material. I was hoping to create a group of Elvis members to speed the process, but even then I'd still have to check the AV lending policies. So many libraries won't loan any or certain types of AV. We have 3 or 4 people processing those CLC work. Yeah, and I also have found, at least off and on, that people don't always update those lending policies very regularly either. Maybe that's just me, but that's been my hold up on some things too.
That's my perception as well. Just creeping through the SWAN policies. Maybe we can build a lender, a group in the forums. If we can figure out known AV lenders that are still actively lending AV, we can build that lender group in the forums, and then you can use that to build a custom holdings group. Just spitballing.
Yeah. I can create a post for that so people can respond. Make notes, I don't forget.
Oh, something to put on all of your radar. I think a lot of you did have Addison in a lot of your custom lender groups. They are SWAN now, so those are part of your deflection policies. So if you have them in your holdings paths and holdings groups, make sure you take out JVK. Julie, are you running into that very often? Are there a lot of really eclectic things that you're not able to get from OCLC? You can unmute too. That's easier. Yeah, Julie's getting slammed. Sorry, Julie.
Yeah, we run into that a little bit too. Like a couple of our power users are very into niche, DVDs and things like that too. So it can be challenging to find materials for them and stuff.
How many of you all are using the patron-facing ILL request form that I fixed a month or 2 or 3? I don't even know. Time has no meaning. I fixed it a couple months back.
Yeah, we're using that for all of our requests now, like our reference librarians, and on occasion, our reference librarians primarily will input those for us and then they just come directly to us. On occasion, we'll get like a handwritten note or, somebody's at our circulation desk and inquires about something and we'll just kind of put it in, kind of do it back in. Just like if I'm working with the patron, I can just do that and approve it and send it on right away. But for the most part, our librarians are doing it through Cat Discovery.
Cool. Very good. I was
Which is
pretty
very
pleased. Sorry, Megan, what?
Oh, I was just saying it's very helpful. It looks, I think the form looks really nice. So, it's very user friendly and clean for the most part.
And it is customizable. There are a lot of those fields that you can tweak and change and rename, make required or make not required and stuff. So if you are not using the form or if it's not quite behaving the way you want, let me know and I'll be happy to fiddle that with you or with you. I kind of like it that it's patron facing because it gives the patron an idea up front of the actual holdings. So if they're looking for something that, one library in the world owns and you get back to them and are like, nope, sorry, we can't get this for you. Theoretically, it shouldn't come as much of a shock.
I also like it because they're selecting usually the exact thing that they want instead of
Yes.
us having to sometimes decipher, do they only want this edition? Do they want, the reprint of this earlier edition, or is the earlier edition okay? All of those things. So I think that's helpful as well. In that vein about the request form, Julie, one of Julie's comments in the forums had said it'd be helpful and speed up our process if in the box for willing to pay, there could be a statement of a standard amount. For example, we charge patrons $3 for out-of-state borrowing, but patrons will put only $1 in that box. And this isn't helpful because then they still have to go back and ask the patron for permission to borrow from out of state. I looked at that a little this morning and there is a limit, I think, to the number of characters that you can put in that specific field, but you may be able to add that like briefly somewhere. There was also a field for patron notes, like it looked like you could, and I tried to test it, but it didn't like update my form, instantaneously. So I couldn't see it, to see if this would work, but it looked like there was a way maybe to kind of put a note to a patron, but you have to know if it's what they say, if I got that right.
Let's see. Should discovery request for. Okay. Max cost. Field label, max cost or willing to pay. So I'm going to copy this. So you could put max cost or willing to pay. So Julie, did you say it was a $3 minimum, maximum?
Yeah, $3 minimum for out of state borrow.
You see in the notes, in
Yeah.
that section to the right, I put that, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to make a difference.
Let's see.
That might work.
Yep, and I've hit my field limit. I was going to try to put that in parens, but it's okay. So yeah, if you're happy with that, Julie, I can save this. We can always put it back.
Yeah, we can change it later if it's not working for patrons.
Yeah, so let's save that.
I appreciate what you're saying, or what you said, Julie, too, about like, if there's a box that they can check, because at least then they have to physically like acknowledge it, you know? I don't know that that's an option. I don't think it's an option right now.
How about patron max cost? It can't be reused. Let's do copyright acknowledged date. Type. Okay. Sorry, I was hoping I could make it a radio box, you know, like a click to agree sort of a thing. But no. Section header. Maybe.
I'm sure we've all run through, like, patrons reading the details of this is the policy, so I can also appreciate why, you know, even just having your text field, maybe not doing that.
Obnoxious that it won't let you put that in two different places.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much.
but maybe you're right, Helen, maybe it can be a note to the, or a note like, and the note says like, please acknowledge here, you know, that you're willing to pay the out-of-state $3 cost, and then the, like,
Yeah.
if they to put in their initials, or I acknowledge, or, you know, whatever the.
Yes, I agree to, you know, absorb the $3 fee
Right.
for an out of state, you know, blah, 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 yakety smackety. All right. Well, Julie, let us know if this populates on your form within the next hour or two. I think it does refresh. It doesn't refresh instantly, but it's pretty quick. Let's do the preview.
I'll check when I get to work at 1.
Okay. I'm not authorized to view this content. That's rude.
That's what happened to me too when I was trying to preview it, and I was like, oh, okay.
That's okay. I'll do it in a different tab rather than trying to use the preview, because that will just vex me. But this is saved, and I will make a note to myself to look at it later. Oh, but I can't, because I can't get it because I'm not a Woodridge patron. Never mind. Julie, I will rely upon you to let me know if it worked or not.
Julie had also asked who mails to Canada libraries. Have you found the cost of postage to be prohibitive? Or are we doing something wrong? We paid over $20 in postage for one item and had to fill out a tedious customs form as well.
Jeez.
We don't lend out of the country, out of the US, so I can't, and primarily because of postage, would be the concern. Does anybody else?
And we can police that with a policy too. We can deflect non-US libraries if that becomes an issue.
Yeah, we don't get requests that often. They'll just. Make sure we don't send out a booking fee this time. And the only time that we will is for like a copy request, you know, if somebody needs it. Something that they're able to do. We can send that. But again, that's very, very easy. We had also mentioned Maryland saying that Addison, no out of. We had also mentioned, can you, and if yes, how can you bill for lost material through IFM or directly through World Share. The creation of an emailing invoices is cumbersome at times, and contact information is out of date. Yes, you can do that.
You
I
can
did.
do, you can do that here. I can show you how to do it here. The documentation is here.
Morgan said they don't want other people.
Drop this in the chat. This is where that documentation lives, Julie, for billing with IFM. Basically, the way you do it is you communicate with the other library, you know, the nature of the situation that you intend to bill. And then you send basically a dummy record with a lending, with a borrowing fee, so that when they accept the dummy request, they absorb that fee. So they accept the dummy request and then they return the dummy request and you mark it closed, and then that transaction happens for whatever you put in that max cost for that particular loan.
The OCLC also has like a answer on how to do that as well, but I just put it in the chat. It's, you know, the same idea, but
Yeah.
It just says it's very differently, but
They probably have pretty screenshots.
no, they don't. They don't.
No?
It's like step 1 through 7 with all writing, but it's concise too, which, you know, may be good for just understanding the process before actually, you know.
Yeah. Well, cool. We're more detailed. You said we give you a detailed step-by-step here, what everything looks like. Check and make sure it's US dollars. And then that's that.
Thank you, Helen. That's great.
You're welcome. Yeah, that really does make it painless. The invoicing and the mailing, and I don't like paper.
I personally didn't have anything else.
I don't either. So I think we can open the floor. If anybody has any other questions or exciting news. I know we have one brand new ILL person from LaGrange, if I'm recalling correctly. Yes, Shelley. You've got a wealth of ILL experience. Did you have any questions, or are you looking for training resources? Do you have a forums login yet? I'm going to drop the link to the forums in the chat. Or rather, I'm going to try, because my pause the share for a second. Hang on.
And Shelley, that is a separate login. So if you don't have a login for the forums yet, let us know and we'll create one for you, okay? One day when we have single sign-on. It's
That's the
coming.
dream.
Yes.
Yeah, Shelley, if you have any questions, drop them in the forums. I think most of us crawl through the forums fairly regularly, and we can point you to our own training resources, or if it's just a question, you know, one of us can just jump in there and throw in our 2 cents. I know when I started in Interlibrary Loan, I had no idea what I was doing, and I had nobody to help me. So this is a very supportive group. Made a lot of mistakes that first year. You're welcome. Oh, and Peggy mentioned the Internet traffic survey. And we do have, if you guys don't know about that, and I'm sorry, I can't talk and navigate at the same time. We do have that done for you. So if you are and it depends if you're a library with drive ups and lockers and your pseudo locations. If you're one of those libraries, you'd use this one. And if you don't have any of those pseudos, you would use this one. Yeah, and I think I included everybody who shouldn't use this one and who should use this one. So yeah, if you use that in-state and out-of-state generic users, you don't need to worry about hanging on to that paper to report for IPLAR or your traffic survey. We've done that for you. So hooray for less paper. And I can drop this. I'll drop just the regular one into the chat so you can see where that is. Share. Copy. Paste. Yeah. And just a reminder that Internet Traffic Survey and IPLAR, they don't need to be to the very last item. Nobody's going to audit you and like come pound it on your door and drag you out of. It just needs to be close to what reality actually was, and that if there's any big jumps up or down statistically, that you can explain those.
You can
And that
also
does not have to be an exact explanation either.
Right.
They are
Right.
very understanding.
Yeah, it can just be, you change the way your reporting tool is configured and,
And you can also put notes like, this is our best, estimate, if you feel so compelled to do that as well for certain ones. I think there's that one question like, what are the total number of requests your library received in a year? That's kind of challenging to get at.
Yeah, I mean, and the database is a living thing. So, I mean, just take your best shot and don't stress about it.
We're at 10:30. Does anybody else have any additional thoughts? Questions, concerns?
Thanks, Shelley. Shelley says great advice here. Yes, you'll find good advice and snark. Come for the advice, stay for the snark. All right, well, I can stop sharing this and I can end the recording. After I end the recording, if you have any questions that you don't want recorded for posterity, we'll keep the meeting open just a little bit longer. So I will say good day to you all, and I will see you in June, and I will end the recording now.